And thank you to our witnesses for being here today. And of course, it goes almost without saying, this hearing could not be more relevant to our world today. One of the most pressing topics I hear from credit providers in my district is the growing prevalence of fraud and financial threats to our families and institutions. According to CFTC, in my home state of Oklahoma, over $75 million was lost last year in fraud attacks. But we know these crimes are severely underreported, and the actual numbers most likely dramatically higher. So let's focus again on the core stuff here. All of our federal agencies must prioritize the effective prevention tools and work together to find and punish bad actors. So, Mr. Bedenowitz, how has your company had success? Let's talk about some success here in fighting bad actors, and what are the lessons the federal agencies could learn from private sector experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And
you've been in the trenches. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Look, we protect over 500 million consumers globally from these types of threats. And we do it through a variety of technology solutions that the private sector offers. And I want to say a few things to address the comment earlier. Just because it's private sector doesn't mean that it has to be something that people can afford. There are partnerships from peers in the industry between banks and those credit bureaus that offer free solutions for people to be able to protect themselves. There's the Identity Theft Resource Center that helps people when they have problems, in addition to the paid solutions that are out there. But the success is really based on having comprehensive protection of your devices through security, having identity theft protection, scam protection is coming out, and then there's restoration and remediation. And some of these providers, including us, provide support every step of the way when someone falls victim, as well as insurance to help reimburse them for those losses that they have. So there are solutions out there, and we have many stories of people. One story comes to mind of an elder gentleman who, as we talk about these Bitcoin ATMs, he was tricked into that money, $9,000 had come into his account, into giving $9,000 into one of those ATMs. But because he was covered by our insurance, we were able to reimburse him for that loss.
Mr. Benda, could you comment on this as well?
Absolutely, Congressman. So I think what we're seeing is banks are making some success at trying to combat these scams and fraud, sharing information where they can, but I think the focus really needs to be here on the prevention side of things. I think we need better sharing from the telecoms in terms of the text messages that are being out there. I think we need better enforcement from the FCC to shut down those telecoms that are sending those bad text messages. But I think there's got to just be a better information sharing across the ecosystem. You can share across financial institutions without fear of liability, but social media, telecoms, and others can't necessarily share in that same level of information. And we know that banks file 6,000 SARs a day, suspicious activity reports a day, focused on fraud, but that information never comes back to financial institutions in a manner they can use to prevent that fraud from occurring.
Continuing with that, Mr. Benda, we've heard a lot about those gaps in the data collection from the federal agencies and the financial fraud. Can you talk about the need for and expand more on this cross-agency collaboration and a whole-of-government approach? I mean, why are the information silos ineffective? And you touched on that just in a moment. Would you expand on that?
Thank you. I think that's the critical need. The question you have to ask yourself is, we hear many times, when, let's say, a small bank, their local area gets blanketed with these fake fraud alerts. You hear about this. They send these thousands of messages out, and then they overwhelm. One of our small banks got 600 calls a day. We know crimes are being committed at that exact moment. There is no 911. There is nowhere to call to say, how do I stop these text messages? How do I stop this crime from occurring? We need to have a centralized strategy. Other countries, like Australia, has developed a national anti-scam center, has a national strategy in place. They've seen a reduction in scam losses of 25%. We need that type of centralized approach to build capabilities.
In the few seconds I have left, Ms. Griffin, how can we make sure the federal government and its private industry partners stay competitive against bad actors? How do we adapt to emerging threats? This is moving quickly every moment, it sounds like.
Yes, thank you for the question. I just want to underscore what Paul is talking about here in terms of the importance and the urgency of a coordinated national strategy that leverages the best of what America has to offer. The innovation, the ability to coordinate are all paramount, and we need to create better clarity of expectations of the private sector for their role in helping to prevent scams.